In a small, windowless room in 1950s Montreal, a group of students sat in total silence, paid handsomely just to do nothing. They wore goggles to block their sight, foam cuffs to kill their sense of touch, and pillows to stifle any sound. This was the McGill sensory deprivation experiment. Within hours, their minds began to fracture. They saw geometric patterns, then ancient civilizations, then ghosts. Their brains, starved of the friction of reality, began to eat themselves. We are told that peace is the goal, that comfort is the reward for a life well lived, but the truth is far more sinister. Your brain does not want to be safe. It wants to be used. When you retreat into the warmth of the familiar, you aren't resting. You are undergoing a voluntary sensory deprivation of the soul. The walls of your apartment are not just wood and drywall. They are the boundaries of your potential, slowly closing in like a velvet coffin. Most people spend their entire lives decorating their cages, making the bars more comfortable, unaware that the comfort itself is the chemical agent of their decay. We have been biologically hijacked. Our ancestors survived by seeking caloric density and physical safety because the world was a meat grinder of predators and famine. But in a world of Uber Eats and digital validation, those same survival instincts have become our greatest liability. You are wired to seek the path of least resistance, but that path leads directly to a psychological atrophy so subtle you won't notice it until it's too late. There is a concept in dark psychology known as learned helplessness, but there is a more modern, more dangerous variant, learned comfort. It is the process by which a human being becomes so accustomed to the absence of pain that the mere thought of discomfort feels like a life-threatening wound. You find yourself scrolling through the lives of others, watching them take risks, watching them bleed, and watching them win, while you remain paralyzed by the terrifying possibility of an awkward conversation or a failed project. You are trading your greatness for a momentary hit of dopamine that leaves no trace in your memory. Think back to the last year of your life. How much of it can you actually remember? If the days blur together in a gray haze of routine, it's because your brain has stopped recording. Why should it waste energy filing away data it has already seen 1,000 times? You are effectively deleting your own existence while you are still alive. The secret to why some men become legends while others remain footnotes lies in a specific neurological threshold we will uncover shortly. But first, you must understand the physics of the spirit. A muscle that is not torn cannot grow. A mind that is not challenged cannot expand. By staying in your comfort zone, you are choosing a slow, painless suicide. You are letting the person you could have been die so that the person you are can remain comfortable. It is the ultimate betrayal of your own DNA. Every ancestor you have, the ones who fought through ice ages, plagues, and wars, did not survive so that you could rot in front of a flickering screen, terrified of a no or a not yet. In the shadows of the human psyche, there is a mechanism called hedonic adaptation. It is the reason why the new car, the bigger house, and the stable job eventually become invisible. We are designed to adapt to our environment, which means that once you achieve comfort, you don't actually feel happy, you just feel numb. You begin to seek smaller and smaller distractions to fill the void, creating a feedback loop of mediocrity. This is where the dark psychology of the modern world preys on you. Corporations and algorithms don't want you to be a lion. They want you to be a consumer. And a consumer is most profitable when they are sedentary, predictable, and just dissatisfied enough to keep buying, but not so dissatisfied that they change their lives. Consider the metaphor of the boiled frog. If you drop a frog into boiling water, it will leap out instantly. But if you place it in lukewarm water and slowly turn up the heat, it will sit there until it is cooked alive. Your comfort zone is that lukewarm water. The temperature is rising every day. The economy is changing. The world is shifting, and your skills are stagnating. But because the heat is gradual, you feel safe. You tell yourself you'll start that business tomorrow. You'll have that difficult conversation next week. You'll leave the job that drains your soul when the time is right. But the time is never right because the water is designed to make you sleepy. This sleep is a form of cognitive entropy. In physics, entropy is the inevitable decline into disorder. In psychology, entropy is the decline into the average. Without the constant input of energy in the form of stress, risk, and novelty, your personality begins to dissolve. You become a collection of habits rather than a conscious agent. You are no longer the protagonist of your story. You are a background character in someone else's. We are approaching a realization about the nature of fear that will change the way you look at your anxiety forever. But to get there, we must first look at the price of safety. Safety is an illusion sold to those who are afraid to die. But the irony is that by avoiding death, you are avoiding life. The Greek philosophers understood this through the lens of Agon, or the contest. They believed that a man's worth was measured by the quality of his struggle. Without a struggle, there is no virtue. Without a contest, there is no character. When you remove the struggle from your life, you remove the very thing that gives your life meaning. This is why the most comfortable societies often have the highest rates of depression and suicide. When we have no dragons to kill, we turn our swords on ourselves. The dark truth is that your comfort zone is actually a sophisticated defense mechanism designed to protect a version of yourself that no longer exists. You are holding on to a fragile ego, terrified that if you step into the unknown, you will be exposed as a fraud or a failure. But failure is the only path to mastery. In the world of high-stakes psychology, there is a state known as flow, where time disappears and your performance becomes superhuman. You can only enter flow when the challenge you face is slightly beyond your current ability. If the challenge is too easy, you feel boredom. If it's too hard, you feel anxiety. The comfort zone is the kingdom of boredom. It is the place where flow goes to die. We often mistake ease for happiness, but happiness is not a state of rest. It is a byproduct of movement. Think of a shark. Some species of sharks must keep swimming to push oxygen-rich water through their gills. If they stop, they drown. You are a biological shark. Your oxygen is growth. The moment you stop moving, the moment you decide you have arrived, you begin to suffocate. This leads us to the ultimate secret of the elite. They don't have more courage than you. They simply have a different relationship with pain. They have realized that the pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. The final secret, the one that the architects of our world don't want you to know, is that fear is not a stop sign, it is a compass. In the map of your life, the areas marked "Here be monsters" are exactly where the treasure is buried. Your brain triggers anxiety precisely when you are standing on the edge of a breakthrough. That racing heart, those sweaty palms, that is your soul waking up from a long slumber. It is the internal signal that you are about to expand your territory. If you run back to the comfort of your cave every time you feel that surge, you are training your brain to stay small. You are teaching your nervous system that new equals deadly, and eventually your world will shrink to the size of a postage stamp. We live in a culture of self-care and boundaries, terms that were originally meant for healing but have been weaponized to justify cowardice. Real self-care is not a bathtub or a day off. It is the grueling process of building a person you don't need to escape from. It is the radical act of putting yourself in situations where you might fail, where you might look stupid, and where you will definitely be uncomfortable. Because on the other side of that discomfort is a version of you that is unrecognizable, a version of you that is dangerous, capable, and truly free. As you sit there now listening to these words, your mind is already looking for an exit. It's telling you that this doesn't apply to you, or that you'll think about it later. That is the voice of the parasite. That is the comfort zone defending its territory. It knows that if you take action, its reign of terror is over. It knows that once you taste the cold air of the mountain peak, the stale air of the valley will never be enough again. The slow death is optional. You can choose to be the person who watches, or you can choose to be the person who is watched. You can choose the safety of the harbor or the glory of the storm. True power is the ability to walk into the fire and trust that you will not burn, but be forged. The world is a mirror. If you approach it with hesitation, it will offer you a hesitant life. If you approach it with a demand for growth, it will provide the resistance necessary to build you into a titan. The most terrifying thought is not that you will fail, but that you will succeed at things that don't matter. You will reach the end of your life and realize you were the world's best at staying safe. You will have a pristine, untouched life, like a toy kept in its original packaging, never played with, never scarred, and utterly worthless. Break the loop. Shatter the glass. The only way to truly live is to be in a constant state of departure from who you were yesterday. The moment you feel comfortable